everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Let's Talk Thursdays with Dr. Kela. I have a special guest with me today, and that's Leslie Andrews of Leslie Andrews Photography. Welcome, Leslie. Thank you for being on Let's Talk Thursdays.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate you taking the time. Now, before we get into this interview, I must say, I honestly feel that every woman should be professionally photographed at least once in her lifetime, and not necessarily for a wedding. And I have to reiterate to you, I thoroughly enjoyed working with you for my last photo shoot to get new professional photos. And these are the ones that I'm using on my website and on my social media, and I make sure to give you credit for that. You were so easy to work with, and you made me feel very comfortable. So, again, thank you for that experience. I want the whole world, or at least everybody watching this, to know what a world-class photographer you are.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Now, in addition to being a world-class photographer, tell me, who is Leslie Andrews, the woman? Let everybody know a little bit about yourself.
Well, first, I am a mom. I have two daughters. I have my oldest daughter who is just turned 27, and I also have a 10-year-old. I know,
Wow.
a major age gap, but those are my kids and they keep me going. So first and foremost, I'm a mom. And secondly, I'm a creative. I'm an artist at heart, but I'm also a businesswoman. I love to pour into my community to empower other women and to show them that you can do this. You can be a mom, you can be a businesswoman, you can have a family and all of those things and still be grounded in who you are.
Well, now, how did you end up choosing your career path?
I would like to think that my career path chose me. So in my early 20s, I picked up my first camera. I've always been a creative. I've always loved fashion, the arts, music, all things creative. I picked up my first camera. Actually, a friend gave me a camera. I just started doing it as a hobby, and I wasn't taking the gorgeous professional pictures of people that you see now on my website. I was merely using it as an outlet. So I would take my camera with me when I would go places. I would just document the things that I would see around me. And during that time, I was working as an administrative assistant. So I would bring in these random photos, these little slices of my life into my job. And me and my boss at the time, we worked in a very small office. So I would just bring in these random photos and I would be like, oh, look at this picture. And I remember after working with him for some time, probably about 3 or 4 years, we came to a point where his business was doing really bad. He was like, I'm gonna have to lay you off, but we were really close. So I remember him saying, you should pursue photography. And I was like, why would I do that? Like, where does this even come from? Like, no, I need a job. At the time I was a single parent. I had a toddler. I needed my benefits, all of those things that you think define stability.
Right.
And I was like, what, why would you like, you don't have to say that. Like, I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna find another job. He was like, no, I'm serious. You're passionate about it. When you show me your work, your eyes light up. And that is what we call passion. And I was in my young 20s, very young. I didn't know what passion meant. I didn't know any of that. I didn't know you could have a career that you love or do what you love and make money. I just, all I knew was that I needed a job. I needed to work and survive. And he was like, well, I am a firm believer that if you find something that you're passionate about, you should pursue that. And I believe that people should go after what they love because that is something that a lot of people don't have, is something that they enjoy doing that they could then parlay into a career. And I had no idea about making money as a photographer, none at all. Like, this was early 2000s. Like, the camera that I was using wasn't even digital at the time. So it kind of got in my head. And literally, honestly, I went and I asked a bunch of people, like my mom, my friends, should I become a photographer? And everyone laughed at me. Literally, everybody laughed and was
Wow.
like, I know, and I know that sounds really bad, but I just don't think that they understood because this was like very early on, and there weren't like this was not like how we have Instagram now. You can see people successfully making it in artistic, creative industries. So, like I said, everybody laughed at me and was like, no, dear, go get a job like the rest of the working class. I mean, you have a couple of options. You could go back to school, you could get another degree, you could do this, you could do that. But yeah, taking photos, I don't really, how are you going to do that? So
Right,
I was like, okay, I started to look for jobs, but in the interim of me going online, it wasn't even Google at the time. I think it was like AOL dial-up. I was like, how to become a photographer, and nothing came up except for schools, like creative schools or schools that have photography as a degree program. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want to go back to school. But it really got in my head. And that's what I, in the end, ended up doing. I went back to school and I got a degree in photography. And at the time, I had no idea how I was going to make it. But I was like, well, let's just see. Let me learn the technicalities, and maybe they'll teach me how I can parlay it into a career. In the ultimate end, I ended up with a portfolio of beautiful photos, but I still didn't know how to make it as a photographer. So I ended up taking a ton of business classes, struggling for years. I was just at my wit's end. I just said, you know what, figure it out. And then that's when I really went hard. And this was probably about 7, 8 years into not knowing my worth, doing $100 photo shoots, just working another job, just doing it, just trying to navigate it and figure it out. I just decided I was going to took this course, and I just went really hard, and I just started really looking at people that had made it successfully and knowing my worth, and it came from inside. I came out of school with beautiful pictures. I just felt like it was something that I understood how to photograph, but I didn't know how to make money. So I just started just saying, you know what? You have to value what you're doing. You have to know from within and feel that confidence in what it is that you're doing. And I had to totally relearn every single thing that I've been taught about money. And unfortunately, growing up in a household with a single African American mom that had grew up in the deep South, was super religious, everything about money that she taught me, I had to relearn.
unlearn.
Like I had to unlearn everything that she said about, money is the root of all evil. So every
And
time I got on
that's,
the brink of success, I didn't feel like I should be charging people for photos. So I kind of just kept self-sabotaging myself and imposter syndrome, which is honestly how I landed at many years down the line wanting to help other businesses and wanting to specialize in branding and adding that extra value when I photograph clients to let them know that these photos are going to be for your business. I want to create photos that will empower you, make you feel good, make people respect you, who you are, see these pictures, and just creating that story where I'm elevating brands with these images. So I had to make it work and make it make sense for me so I could see the value in it. That was the
that is an awesome story, Leslie. And I mean, I think with your family, their hearts were probably in the right place, but again, they were not at a point, I guess, in their life's journey where they could question the programming. And that scripture about, oh, money is the root of all evil is so often misquoted. It's the love of money that is the root of all evil. And it
right.
doesn't sound to me like you love money. You love photography. You love making people feel good. And like you said, partnering with businesses to help them elevate your brand. And that's how I found you, is part of your niche, I would say now. Is
Yes.
there a particular subject that you prefer or is your favorite to shoot? Whether it's scenery or you mentioned earlier taking photos of, I believe, your daughter in a natural background. Do you have a favorite particular subject to shoot?
I absolutely love working with Black women. I feel like that is my ideal client. Growing up and being of darker complexion, I never had any good photos taken. I never felt good after a photo shoot. The lighting was always really horrible. It wasn't like calibrated for darker skin. Even back in the day with film, film was not designed to photograph darker complected. And it seems crazy, but I actually researched it and it was not calibrated to photograph darker skin
Right.
tones. Even makeup wasn't made for us back in the day. Or
Right.
like we just weren't recognized on the spectrum of colors. Like you got to a certain, and then it was just like, oh, you get whatever, like so all of my photos growing up in school were very like not exposed for my tone. So I would always cringe at like portrait day and things like that. And I wanted to change that narrative. And a part of what I do now is create these gorgeous photos of Black women that people can say, oh, look at that is a gorgeous, like, Black woman, just making us look good and making us look like we look in real life. When you see someone of a darker mid skin tone and they might look gorgeous, creating that so you could also see it in the photo. Even now, with like, even back in the day with television, we just weren't really seen in the light that, in a positive light. So I wanted to change that narrative. I wanted to make people take photos of people and make them feel good. Now, of course, I take pictures of all white, Black, Hispanic, all races. And I have had people say, well, do you photograph white people? Do you photograph other people? Do you photograph men? Yes,
Of
I do.
course.
But this, of course. And to that, I say, of course. And you know what? When I see my counterparts, no one ever says that to them. No one ever says, do you photograph non-white people? No one ever says that to them.
I
But
know.
I get that in my career, even today. Like I really got it very early on. But even today, I even get people that say, well, do you photograph other races or other things? Of absolutely. But this is what speaks to me. So
Right.
this is what I want to really put in my portfolio to highlight. You can go to any photographer's website and see a vast, like all white people or, but I want to highlight this. I've had agencies tell me, you have too many Black people. You need more diverse. No, we are diverse. It is diverse to be.
Right. And I
So,
think people forget that Black
yeah.
people are very diverse. My mom is very light, almost like Mariah Carey. My dad is a darker skinned man. You see me, I'm brown, and my sister is like a chocolate brown. So, and we're same parents, just that genetic diversity um,
Yeah.
that exists with us. That is so interesting that you get told that. But I love the fact that showing us in all of our melanificence, if you will,
Yes. Yes.
is a priority for you. Okay, I'm going to table it right here, and we're going to break this up and come back next week for part two.
Awesome.